how is it that uh the 12 causes relate to the 10 fetters? Because they seem very similar in a couple of ways, like the sense perception and self-illusion and various versions of those. So is the is the 10 fetters just a little bit more of a specified version of the 12 causes and effects? Or the ones that the one that really was confusing to me was becoming. So you had written the habit of manifesting. Can you go a little bit more in detail on that? Because I'm just a bit confused on what specifically that means.
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's a good segue and it's a good advancement from the previous discussion too. I think even Marcus asked about that becoming, and then we explained that we discussed that last time,
Hmm.
and so you're going into that the specific one. So I think it would be well addressed if you can give me the confusion what you have on that the becoming in the sense that.
So with manifesting, is that then manifesting of the cravings and the desires and origination itself?
Yeah. Okay. I got what you confused with. Of course, it's like Can you remember I was telling earlier that intention is the actually it's not just the karma. Actually, it's the intention as well. That was the one of the question that Marcus asked very beginning. So it's like you are to complete the whole process that will then only it will really sink into your self image. So this
Mm.
sinking in part is that really the becoming part. So the 12, these 12 links of that dependent origination is expansion of that high level process into the deeper level. So that is
Hmm.
where actually now even ignorance comes at the beginning in the sense that really you are clinging into this because of you don't know this process. So you just, as a habit, you just cling into things kind of thing. So that is why it is really processing that way. And then at the end of those mental process or the manifestation process ends with that bhava in the sense that becoming, just like completing that karma kind of a thing, and then completing the
Hmm.
house wiring, and then everything is over, and then you put the kind of connected it to the main grid. So it's totally you are with the you are in a your self image is now complete. Now, if I give a different example, like that snowball is rolling, and then it's rolled all the way, and then the piece of or the part of the snow on the ground now completely attached to the ball. So it is becoming. That means ball is being different now. The snowball is now different because it's a different size now because of that much of things has been added. So similarly, so the whatever the process gone through is being completely added into your the vijnana or your self image and then ego. So then you become a different person. So that is why becoming is. That is why power. And then later on, of course, you now visible now with the light, the main main grid line is already connected to the house, and then now you have the electricity. Now you switch on every bulb here and there. That is your jati kind of you are now appearing. Your electricity is
Hmm.
appearing now, rather than you don't know whether even the grid was connected. I mean, outsiders wouldn't know whether it is there or not. Electricity is not there or is there. You know, of course, you are engineer. That's right. But anyway, person when they light up the bulb or the lamp, then they know that it's really electricity is there. That is actually jati. that second the 11th things. And of course, then you do have the jara marna dukkha domana, in the sense that really different aging and everything, that your bulb might die away, or your bulb might be brighter, and we might have a different light things, like the soft light or all that thing. That is all which is visible to us, kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
that's so it's a
I see. I see.
it's now I'm talking about this as how we can perceive. I'm giving the example, the way that we can perceive, we can understand that way. But this whole process is happening at a very, very, very micro level, very, very minute level. Every thought or every action we take, go through these 12 links of that dependent origination, and then adding into our selfness, or the our self-image, or the ego, or in Pali word vijnana.
I see. So then how is it that uh the 12 causes relate to the 10 fetters? Because they seem very similar in a couple of ways, like the sense perception and self-illusion and various versions of those. So is the 10 fetters just a little bit more of a specified version of the 12 causes and effects, or the 12 causes and effects, um what's the word I'm looking for? Are they more related to the Four Noble Truths?
Now, all of them are related to Four Noble Truth. That's one of the word that Buddha has given. That really, it's like Four Noble Truth is like a footprint of an elephant in the jungle. So any
Okay.
other footprint in the jungle will fit into that. So that's for sure. That's everything. I mean, what he's explaining is one thing in a different aspect and different dimension. And if I go to that, your first question of that, whether it is related to 10 fetters, of course. And then, but you could see that really even the 10 fetters at the very end, last one is avidya, in the sense that really the ignorance. And then that is the first thing on the 12 link of origination, or the dependent origination. I would call it actually the perceiving process. And that also the same thing, same ignorance. Ignorance is the one that really which will capture it. As you said, that really these 10 fetters are the actually cataloging whatever we have collected. It's a catalog. 10 fetters are the if I now, as I explained earlier, that really all of these 12 link of dependent origination is kind of a grasping factor, which is that intention, and then the karma, which is actually collecting and completing our ego or our self image, right? So it is been accumulating all the snow into the snowball, kind of a thing, right? So that is the process. So the process of accumulation. But when you come to the 10 fetters, it is actually whatever been accumulated is been cataloged by Buddha, saying that really they are kind of your self-image. So your the doubt, and then the rituals, and then that your belief of systems, and then of course your desires, and then this your aversion, and so and so forth. So those 10 are the actual the accumulation of the all the accumulation. It's like the snowball is being now dissected by Buddha into different layers. Like you're cutting into 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 layers, and then saying that these layers are the actually the keeping the snowball as a snowball. So now what you're doing is once you really stops rolling the snowball, or you can peel out that onion on the last three, and the very top three uh, uh, the skins, or the top three layers of the onion. So you left with that seven fetters, which is actually now it's a different size of a onion or different size of a snowball. So it is kind of same thing, but it is in a categorized differently. The way that we can stop this accumulation process. Are you with me?
I see. Yeah.
Is it clear?
So yeah, and so then when it comes to the eightfold path and the 10 fetters, I know that you've mentioned that this is something that we can do in daily life. There's no need to go to a monastery in the forest and do all of that. You are able to just do it in daily life. And that is something that I have noticed and have done my best to follow those principles and those teachings. But is it something that it's easier to do it when you're in an isolated state like that? The only reason I ask is because when you're in current society, so take my situation where I'm working 40 or 50 hours a week, it does seem very difficult not to follow the eightfold path, of course, because that's more just basic actions and those kinds of things. But when it comes to meditation and various different things of that nature, where it's very challenging when you're working so much and then you have to do maintenance on a house and you have to drive places and cook food and all of these different things where you're very, very busy all of the time versus if you are in a place like a forest monastery, for example, where you're able to just sit and meditate all day and you do the various chores, but the main thing is meditation.
Yeah, very good question. And then I would say that really it depends in the sense that really how do you want to do it? But in fact, in your case, I'm pretty sure that really you don't have to because the very first, three fetters has gone. So that means that really you can work. There are 40 hours a week, but still your inner essence is still there. It won't go away, right? And then your experience
Hmm.
is still there. So that is where that really it comes to the real fact of eightfold path, because eightfold path I mentioned that really it's a two kind of a different aspect of it. One is of course the eightfold path that really whoever following as the stream enterer rather than the stream winner. The stream winner is that really he has already experienced that non-self experience for a fraction of a second. So he has that concrete level of understanding or concrete level of experience of what is self, what is, well, he doesn't have any, he or she doesn't have any doubt about it, and he doesn't have any kind of a, uh, going by any kind of a, belief system. All those three fetters has gone if somebody has had the experience of non-self experience, right? So that is mean that really he doesn't have to follow the eightfold path as such as following it, but it is with you, and then you will be really, it'll embrace you. Then you will be now even for yourself. You can take an example that really okay, you are working 40 hours, but you are not conducive to eightfold path at the time. But actually, the whenever you come home, you are still your that experience is intact, right? You are seen that way. So take that as like the when you were originally talking about this experience, you were saying that you are, you are the awareness, but you are just dealing with the rest of the world on the other side. So even when you go to work, you are really working like the same way, same manner. You are just working with the. Of course, you are paying full attention to what you're doing. It's busy. It seems like your mind is saying that, really, oh, I am busy, that I can't do anything, but that doesn't matter because you do whatever you write, and then of course that experience, that concrete experience, is still with you. So anytime you can go there, and then whenever you had enough of this secular world, you could just go there. So that is the beauty of this, having that experience at very first time. Now, or if I go to the example of one of the Buddha's time, one of the girl, she was her name is Visakha. She was actually a stream winner when she was about 9 years old. But later on, she married, and then she got kids, and then all that thing. At the very end of the life, actually, she just went through the whole rest of the things to pass through all that 4 stages of in life. So that is the way that is why that 7 fetters are still there. So then you can do. So it is kind of a person who is the stream winner will come through that. You don't have to be any other. It's up to you. You can choose to be there and then finish it off, or if while you're working, actually, even at home when you're sleeping or when you go to sleep, you can just touch that again and then try to get to there. While not currently you're not touching the perfect level, but actually you are going into that, and then that will help you to that deteriorate or the diminish some of those things, like the other fetters can be diminished little by little. It's just like a die in the battery or something like that, because you would feel that
Hmm.
way. See, so that is what is on the stream winner point of view. But the stream enterer point of view, of course, it might be a little different, because he has to get that, he or she has to get that attention, or keep that attention awareness alive all the time, to see that really I am in the eightfold path, or in the sense, that kind of a thing. But it is again that what you're doing is your vijnana. So your awareness is the one that is getting lost in this all the mundane world work. So what you need to do is, that is where that really, he call it as a middle path. So as you can remember, that when I said that eightfold path, when he explained that eightfold path, at the beginning he mentioned that as the middle path, rather than noble eightfold path, because that beginning, the middle path is for the mundane people or the secular world. People need to calm down and don't go on the rat race, or don't go with that one extremes, and then bring it down, and then cool it down and come down to that level of for that that eightfold path is interpreted little differently, right? As I said, because some of the things are, whatever you do and whatever you need to do, you have to refrain from harsh word or ending, those kind of things, right? Discipline yourself, right? But then with the discipline, you need to have a little practice as well, and then at the very end, that really with your effort, and then your awareness, what will happen is you go into that deeper level of samadhi, which is that absorption. And then of course, with that, he or she will be go through that process, and then get into that experience of non-self. So once he or she get that non-self experience, of course, that then you are a noble person, in the sense, Arya in Pali. So then you still get that. It comes to you. You have that. You are embracing the eightfold path after that, as I explained earlier. So you will be really going through that path without even knowing, actually, because it's a second nature to you, and then you would not really go farther into the secular world, but you will respond to the secular world as well. But it may be once in a time, you might go up and down, because it's not a guarantee, in the sense that it depends on whatever you have accumulated during the whole your series of uh, cycle of rebirth and all that, because they are really impacting sometimes. Now, in the case of, like, Stephanie's, I knew that really she was saying that she thought that it was because of the meditation she went to that that traumatic experience. But later on, now she realized that no, it is not traumatic as I thought, because it was the case my mind says that it's traumatic, but it is happened. It's happened. So now I am back in my this thing. And then she was just saying that, endorsing that, yeah, that experience is still there, still with me, and then you can touch on that. And so it is the case that really in the eightfold. And then Stephanie was saying, I realized after reading this book, and then I realized, oh, I have been following this without even knowing it. So this is what I've been following, and then all that. So this is what it is. So that's the eightfold path. That's how it relates to the our experience and process of going through. So it doesn't have to be the monk or the isolated in the world, because wherever you're isolated, your mind will work, and then you may not be really having that kind of a peacefulness or the calmness that you were expecting. So there are plenty of example in this whole world now. It's nothing. And then even if you go to the jungle, so of course it might help on your character, and then you go to the forest monastery and then discipline yourself. It will help. And then, but it is again that your choice whether you want to do that way or not. So for example, like this Ajahn Brahmavan, so the one that he was in Perth, Australia, he was the graduate on theoretical physics in Oxford, and he was teaching. And 1 year into the teaching, he realized, no, I don't want this. He left, and then he left to Thailand, and then in the Thailand, he was just going through the very deepest austerity, like, all in the jungle, there's no toilets, and then they were given so many, their experiences, and then they don't have anything to eat. And sometimes they were offered just sticky rice and pickle frogs. So that's only meat they have, the protein they do have. So they used to eat that, and that kind of austerity he went through. But he went through the whole about 10 years or so, and then he had some malaria one time, and all that things went through. And then finally he got this thing practice, and then is pretty much on the path. And he is a very, very famous monk that really always talk about this, that trace of, samadhi pachya yata bhuta jnana darsana, in the sense that with the meditative absorption, only you can see, because he comes with the same kind of experience, which I was referring to. So which you have gone through too, I am pretty sure. And then probably the others, like Stephanie and the other guys, Tiffany also gone through the same thing. I think Gavin went through the same thing like you. But others, sometimes it's pop up from them, boost out, or they surge through them because of their previous experience, and coming through when you allow that to happen. So that is the case. So
Yeah, so then it seems that much the same as the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path is something that once you once you have this realization, it's something that you know is the truth and that you follow because you just know it is the truth within you rather than having somebody be forced to tell you and to make you follow it. Where the middle path is something that if you're outside of this, like a layperson, as you say, it's something where someone says, follow the middle path and just keep going down that road and so on and so forth and meditate and you'll eventually get there. But once you have this experience and you have the realization of what the actual truth of the matter is, then you don't really, it's not necessarily a middle path thing anymore. It's the eightfold path, and that's within you. And so, as you're saying, it's something that you can do it in daily life. You can just, I'm at my desk and I'm observing the eightfold path as I'm sitting at my desk and all of those things, and something that is fully immersed in your whole
life.
existence in life, for lack of a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Very well. Very, very nice. Yeah, in the sense that the layperson is, of course, that really he has to go through that. In the sense that is how you bring into this path and then follow it. So it is the same way that really when we talk about the dependent origination, I was talking about that the 12th link is about that really aging and death kind of a thing. So which is actually trigger people to think about, oh, whether I should be going to these extremes or whether I should be really coming into the level of that non-self, in the sense they were driven to this path in a different way. So then
Hmm.
when you realize that really, okay, then you are in the middle path, and then you go through that process, and finally you get into that a non-self experience, and then there that after that it is being embraced, the eightfold path, because they mind you that really four noble truth, of that four noble truth, the last truth is the eightfold path, which is the fourth noble truth. So that means that really once you realize that really your non-self experience, when you get it, of course it is needed as well. The same path that you followed before would have the some impact on you, but this time you are not following it anymore. It's been embraced by you. That because of that, there is no duality in you anymore. So when I say that really the eightfold path or the middle path, that the word samma is actually the I always explain that, or my interpretation and my intuition says that is actually it's nothing to do with the right view or wrong view or the wholesome view. No, it is actually non-dual approach to whatever the things that you talk about. So in there, that really the samma ditthi, or the non-dual insight, means that really for the layperson, of course, that really there is a still having to doubt about which is right, which is wrong, which is right, which is wrong. So you have to be bringing your attention to the more balanced way, or that you have to keep you have to have the open mind for all that. That is why the lay people have to go through that. But once you become a stream winner, so you do not have any doubt about which is right, which is wrong. So that is why that you know that really all that things belongs to the self-image. So you are beyond that. So that is why you don't need that kind of thing. But although it's called samma, in that case, when you're following as the fourth noble truth, or when you are absorbing that as the fourth noble truth, it is actually it is automatic. It is the default that you are in that non-dual path. And then with that non-dual path, you are just following all that, or not following, actually, you are absorbing it until your rest of the seven fetters deteriorated, or the faded away from you.
I see. So, so is it something where if you are able to get to the end of your life, you're approaching death, and perhaps you're on your deathbed or something along those lines, and maybe you haven't, for whatever it means, you feel like you haven't achieved all of the elimination of all of your cravings and desires. You feel like you haven't fully gone through the eightfold path. Is it something where any kind of remaining clinging and desire leads to a rebirth, but if you're able to fully allow everything to fade away and there's no more clinging, there's no more desire, then there's no more return.
Correct. Well, I'll elaborate a little bit more there. You mentioned that as the eightfold path. I think what you meant was the 10 fetters. So anyway,
Yeah, yes,
yeah, I
my
know.
apologies.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I just want to make sure that it is recording get that corrections as well. And so the uh, You are exactly right. That is why there are 4 different stages of enlightenment or the awakening that Buddha mentioned. That first one, of course, the stream winner, which you already know about it, and then where that really you are not a layperson anymore. Actually, you are different, I would call it, because the lack of a word, of course, noble person, according to that translation. But it is more like, the person without that very hard uh, self-image or very hard, the ego, because you are more, you know, mild, and you know that really you are not clinging to things that as used to be, those kind of things. So that is what the noble person, in the sense of course, the person who has is the extreme winner. But on the process, as you said, that of course that desire and the aversions are the more prominent now, because there you don't have that thing, but still those things are still lingering in you. So that is why you have that. So it is the case. And then at the end of the death, of course, if you don't fully, or if your that desire and aversion didn't deteriorate to the level where that really this second layer of that absorption, or second layer of that awakening happens, so you will be born again. And then with the same like our conditions, like what you are going through this time, and then that is what the rebirth means. And then you will be born as like human mostly, because you are not convinced with that really human nature. I mean the self-image. So with that, what will happen is there would be that's the kind of a guarantee that Buddha has given, that really that would happen only 6 more times, because you are already on the first one. So 6 more time, 6 more rebirth. By that time, that profound experience will surge through somehow. Somehow it will surge through from you, because that is why people are turning into this kind of a discussion one time, because they do have some inclination. There is something in them telling them to really find out it. So, and then even that is why even Stephanie was just she was an atheist, and then she was just wanted to meditate, and then went through the YouTube channels and then tried to meditate, and finally realized, no, this is not what meditation is all about. And then she knew that it's the subconsciously, or the your that your self image at the very bottom, very core level, and then your true nature is there. So true nature always search through and say that it is not. And then she, without any kind of help, even I didn't advise her, because I wasn't there at the time, when she got through that whole experience. And then by just being, rather than getting into any object or anything. So those kind of things happens, because those are the evidence, those are the proof that really what Buddha mentioned as second birth you might get, or third birth you might get this search through you. And her case, of course, it searched through very well, and then it lasted about 2 weeks. So probably she must be the very on the second layer, or I mean maybe at the very end of the rebirth cycle, or the she may have been born like a stream, not a stream winner, maybe a kind of once returner kind of thing. So you never know. It's up to her to understand and get to that level. Probably he may be on the still search of that really once returner. That's how I can see, because as his kids are growing and everything. So that is where that really at that level the Buddha has given this stream winner, and then the once returner. In between that, the layer of that desire and the aversion are different. Like it may be very strong, not as strong as that as being a lay person, but there will be a strong. And then that is why the people, like they can have their kids and everything and all that. And then at the when it becomes when that person becomes once written, so that means those desires and aversions are very much at a very minute level, not even at the level of uh, the stream inner. It's much deeper. much lower level, very, very minute. So it's like a slither of things. So that's what makes that person to come back to these human rhymes to born again at least one time, and then that will just goes away pretty quickly. And then I would give the example like Eckhart Tolle. He was just born, and then at the age of 29, he realized there's something going on, and then finally that whole thing has gone away. So now he's on a different layer, probably that one non-return. But although he's already born, still there. And on the non-returner, of course, that still there are five other fetters are still lingering, right? So that is why talking about this and that and all that. So when he dies, and to go to your questions, he dies with that some of those things, but Buddha mentioned that really if he dies, he will not be born as a human anymore. He will go to a different plane, which is called Subhavasa, which is a different plane in the sense that really now what think about that this is not the body that really going, right? This is that your metaphysical uh, that snowball or the onion which has less peels or less skin at this time, and then it will be different layer in the sense it could be in this space or somewhere, I don't know, with you don't have to figure that out, it's there. And then uh, that will eventually become awakened one. That's what Buddha said. That is why it's non-return. And then that means that really in that subhavas or whatever the plane, and at the end of that plane, he will be, awakened. So that means that all five fetters would be eradicated. So that's the process. That is why it's been explained that way, and then that's how it goes.
I see. I see. So it does seem like there are a lot of people that do seek out meditation and are looking for answers. But it does seem that, at least from my personal experience, where you'll hear, like I've tried many different kinds of meditation and various different things, and you'll hear one thing and it doesn't seem correct. And I think a lot of people are kind of telling that exact thing where it's maybe this helps to a degree, but it does seem like a lot of the things that are out there just it doesn't seem correct. And it seems as though there are a lot of people who are trying to force it or look for someone to make it happen for them, but it's not something that anyone else can do. It is something that only the person can do for themselves. It's not something anyone can make happen. And as you were saying, if it is something that you had some kind of experience in a previous life and maybe you're a stream enter or a stream winner or something along those lines, even a once returner, it seems as though that would be the seeking out of meditation to further this understanding and release the 10 fetters. And you would have some kind of inclination from previous lives that, oh, I'm listening to this person speak, and what they're saying doesn't seem true. So I'm going to go somewhere else. And then you seek it out, and eventually you do find the truth rather than hanging on to something that is false.
Correct, correct. It's all depends on that really that person's self-image and then their practice as well. Because sometimes the that your self-image or your ego might draw you in a different ways, and then so eventually it will come in the sense. But for that you need to have that your intention as well. So as you said that when you were following different teachers at one stage, you follow that teacher because you believe that really that is the right thing to do. But later on, you realize it doesn't give any impact to me, and then you just change again, and then go to a different person and all that thing. So this is where that really the very strong message should land on anybody who's listening to this conversation right now. It doesn't matter whatever the person, you may go with the other person and this person, but still it has to come through you. It has to realize by yourself. So it doesn't matter whether you go there and then try to follow. Don't follow anything. Just try to get into that your inner essence and look into that. If you are looking for a kind of a passage for that, that is the passage that Buddha has given as direct path, which we follow, and then I try to share that with everybody, because it's a path that really without any kind of distraction on your journey of your uh, inner exploration. So where that really you could see that what is happening inside rather than outside, and then projecting outside and then try to figure that out. This is nothing to figure that out. This is to experience. You need to have that your self-efficacy of what is happening within you. That is where that really matters. So whoever you may be following very famous teachers and all that, but they are trying to give that same message in a word, and not, but our habit, from our childhood, we used to learn something and then try to do that. So that is where that I think I see the gap. So here what I'm doing is actually try to bridge that gap, to say that no, you don't have to try, understand it and then try to do that, but you be there. Don't even try to that. So you be there. So that's the most profound and most effective way is to be there as it is. And then that is what Buddha mentioned as, that samadhi pachaya yatha bhuta jnana rasana. So that doesn't mean that you have to be in the meditative state to get there, but you may listening to this even, this right now, what we are saying. You may, if you are listening it with the full attention, 110% attention, you might really jump into or the transcend into that experience of non-self, because you see anything that you are attaching to gives you a different perspective when you are perceiving it. Now here what we are trying to say is that there's nothing to perceive. It's just be there and be as a being, isness. That's how I think Eckhart Tolle is talking about, but people try to interpret what is isness. No, it is just being, and just being without connecting to anything. So that's what Buddha mentioned in that his very hidden sutra. It is called the Oga Dharana, in the sense that really uh, it's been translated as the crossing the flood. But in fact, actually, the flood, that means actually this existence, crossing the existence. And he said, I crossed the existence while doing nothing. So very profound statement, while doing nothing. So he mentioned a little bit saying that if I feel that I'm clinging into something or dragging into somewhere, I just stop. I didn't do that I didn't let that to happen. And I didn't actually just wait and then, be like a zombie and then be like a, as kind of a sloth or kind of a, laziness in there. No, I didn't do that either. So those two things didn't do, and then in the sense you didn't do anything. So while doing nothing, he awakened or the across this existence. That's what we are doing here too. But that particular sermon or the sutra has been given to a different person. Different person came from a different plane, but actually it was a very short sutra. That's all he said. So that's all you need actually, and that's all encompassing this, whatever the practice we are doing, because we get away from all the thoughts, all mind created things, our body, and we go deep into that spaciousness, which is nothing nothing there, and then we don't do anything on there. We just nothing to do there, as Stephanie normally says, nothing to do there. Just allow that to happen, and then witness what is happening, and then that witnessing will give you that self-efficacy of not being connected with this existence, and then being in awakened. That's the total picture of this.
Mhm. But I think it's very important that it's the difference of trying and not trying or doing, right? Because a lot of the time people will get into, oh, well, I need to try to meditate or I need to try to focus on focusing rather than just not doing anything. And it's the not doing anything that is actually leads you to go further and go deeper. But it's the force that a lot of people try to make things happen and they seek things out. And even if it's something that maybe doesn't seem like it's working, they go, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm just going to keep forcing it, even if it feels wrong. And then that can lead people down, maybe make them go further. Maybe it takes them to a part where, oh, I tried meditation, it didn't work. I'm gonna go do something else or something along those lines. It didn't work for me, so there's nothing there, what have you. But it's that whole thing of I just sat there and witnessed and things happened. I didn't do anything.
Exactly, exactly. I wanted to, tackle on with one of the example Eckhart Tolle gives in his book as well. What he meant was be in the present. It's the same thing that really what just Alex, what you just said. But it is again interpretation of those people, and then I have a little. I wanted to make a little alteration for that. His example is advice because Eckhart Tolle he says in the book that it is like you are just watching a mouse hole. The cat is watching a mouse hole without even moving, and then he's just looking at the mouse hole to see where the mouse is coming out, and then really grabbing it. Right? That's the normal course of mouse and cat. The things exactly, and then that mice might come in. That's what cat is hoping for. But I would alter that. I would say that not even that way. It's the same attention that really you need to have that like a cat is having. But here you don't even look for the mice to come out. Just look for whatever the things coming out. Maybe a snake, maybe just a little ant, maybe you just don't even expect that mice to come out. Just give that attention,
Mhm.
10% attention to that whatever the hole, doesn't matter whether the mouse hole or the snake hole or rabbit hole or anything else. But just give that 110% attention to that spaciousness. That is the
Mhm.
comparative or comparable thing for that mouse hole. I'm saying that is spaciousness. So not even it's a hole, it's a spaciousness. That spaciousness, and then don't even look for that mouse or mice or the any rat or anything rabbit or anything to come out. Just look for it and just witness what is coming out, and that way you will go through that layers of whatever you have been grabbing into your ego, and then it will just diminish or they will drop one by one. You would just experience that, and to experience what you need is just that attention, 110% attention, and witness it happening. Not even try to observe as, okay, yes, that is happened, this is happened. No, just witness what is happening, and then it might give you the full transformation, shifting from your mind into that non-self experience. That's the that's where that is. I'm trying to bridge that gap because that gap is there still. When you are looking at the mouse, well, you're really your full attention is there, and then trying to see the mice is coming out from that, or the rat is coming out from the rat hole, or the mouse hole. that again you are expecting something, expecting whatever that. But this thing is nothing to expect because you have never seen this before. You have never experienced this before, as your mind would say. There is nothing to compare with. Your mind would say that really this could be that, this could be this, and all that. No, it is the thing that really you would experience, which you have not experienced before. When I say which you have not experienced before, you is that your self image. That experience that you are getting has been there all this time. Now, in the case of stream winner, it was there. It is there, and then it still is there, but it's covered. It's obscured by this mind. So that is why the mind have never seen this before, but it will come through. That's why Buddha has mentioned at the very first sermon. He mentioned that I'm going to tell you something that you never seen before, and then it's been misinterpreted by people that really only Buddha is the one who's brought up this particular experience. No, he just mentioned that really this is a discovery that individual person that was listening to me would not see this before. You haven't seen this before. That is why I'm saying that really don't expect what it could be, what it should be, what it like, and all that. So that's going. So I know that really sometimes we are doing a little bit of a disadvantage by explaining that everybody's experience. Like Stephanie was saying, I'm just like that, and we are saying we are like that. But I'm just trying to emphasize that really all those experiences are up to individual. So don't try to mimic that, or don't try to say that okay, I can get the same thing, I had the same thing, kind of a thing. So that means your mind is trying to trick you. You don't need to trick that way. It's again that's your experience could be different on the scale of the others. But when you are explaining, the person who has had that experience would know you are experiencing the same thing in different words. So it is that profound, and that 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 is the fact. That is absolute truth. So that absolute truth cannot be changed or cannot be misinterpreted, because when somebody is explaining it, of course it's words, but the person who has that experience of absolute truth know that really is explaining it with the word or with the vocabulary that he has to explain it. But you would say that really, okay, this is what you explain. I know that most of the time when I'm doing my discussion on the other group with my native language, of course, Sinhalese. So some of the people who are really at the who are with the non-self experience, they they can't explain it in a way that I explain. But actually, when they explain, I know what they meant, and that I just add that other wordings to the people who's listening. They can actually absorb it in a different way. But all of alone, still the individual need to absorb it in the right way. Sometimes the mind might take them in a different way. That, of course, the nature of this existence. So I have no worry about it. But only thing is that what we can do is we can just spread the word. That's all. The rest of the people need to take their own thing into their own hand, right?
Yes, and it's something where when you realize what someone's saying, you can tell that you can read through the words and see the meaning kind of behind them, because things oftentimes get lost in translation because I have one way of saying it, someone has another way of saying it, but we're both saying the same thing. And when you realize what someone's saying, like you with the Singalese, you realize, they're saying the exact same thing that I'm saying and what I understand. They're just using different words, which is why it's so difficult to use words to describe an experience because it never really does justice to it. And it's so individual, and how it sounds in your head doesn't really come out with words the way that you want to. And so many, many things are lost in translation, just as it's like a game of telephone where we're listening to teachings from thousands of years ago, that the true teachings, when you look at them for what they are, you go, yes, that's the truth. But then many things get skewed through translation and with other people trying to put different words and explain it. But when you look at what the basic meaning of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and all of these kinds of things and these experiences, you go, it's beyond words. And it's just many things lost in translation.
Exactly. Exactly. And